the glamour aspect comes afterwards when you get a good result, but the actual filming is really, you're out there running around like a headless chicken for an hour and a half.
Off to the start.
Hi, my name's Jacques Grobler and I'm a sports filmmaker from Cape Town, South Africa. And I travel the world following professional mountain bikers predominantly. I'm here in the beautiful Leogang, Austria. Got a World Cup race this weekend. So I kind of stumbled into this career. My dad is a very keen wildlife and landscape photographer, and one year I picked up one of his cameras. I was still in high school and I really fell in love with photography. At the start of 2017 I went to university, and that lasted all of 4 months before I eventually dropped out and decided that conventional studying wasn't for me. So my dad gave me some advice and he said, you know what, why don't you go and do a 6-month photography course to fill up the year. So I did that, and I saw the industry changing and realized that as a photographer, if you wanted to make it, you really had to be the best in your industry. And so the guys at Orms actually put together a course called Cinematography for Content Creation. It was taking like film school techniques and applying that to this new online creator space. And then, having a bit of a background in mountain biking, that was kind of the sport that I did growing up. At some point, while I was doing my cinematography course, I reached out to a fellow mountain bike filmmaker and said, hey, I'm busy studying and I'd love to learn a little bit more. Can I come and job shadow? Can I just see what it is that you do? And he was nice enough to take me under his wing, and over the course of a couple of years taught me a hell of a lot. Well, one of my biggest highlights in my career was certainly last weekend. We were in Lenzerheide in Switzerland, and the team that I work with is a Swiss-based team, and one of the riders is a guy called Nino Schurter, who anyone who knows mountain biking will certainly know his name. Beginning of last year, he won his 33rd World Cup race in Brazil, which put him on par with the most World Cup wins in history. So he was tied with a retired French mountain biker. And throughout the whole of last year, he was placing second and third and always on the podium, never winning races. And finally, at his home race in Switzerland, he won his 34th to cement him as the greatest of all time, and to be there, to be part of that, to play a part in creating the memories of such a special day was really something special to me. I was quite emotional on the day. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It's really, I've gotten to know this team over the course of a couple of years, so I really feel like I'm part of it as well. And so to see what it meant for all of them to finally get this goal that we've all been working towards for, well, a year and a half since the 33rd win last year. It was really, I don't have words. It was incredible. I guess traveling alone is certainly not super glamorous. Especially, once I'm here at the races and I'm with the team, everything's great. But to get here from South Africa and to constantly be traveling back and forth, it's a lot of time spent on planes and trains, and it's a lot of gear to lug around. Also, like filming the races also isn't always glamorous. You're running around in the middle of summer in 25, 30-degree heat with a backpack and a heavy rig, and you're trying to maximize the number of spots you can get to on each lap, because you only, a race is maybe 6 laps, a lap is 3 to 5 kilometers, and it kind of zigzags. It's a spectator sport, but as the media crew or as part of media at these events, the glamour aspect comes afterwards when you get a good result, but the actual filming is really, you're out there running around like a headless chicken for an hour and a half. I'm sure everybody at these races can relate. That's a tough question. The business side of things I'm certainly still figuring out. I guess I'd say the past couple of years have been my, I'd almost say my education. I spent a couple of years trying to constantly learn and progress as a filmmaker, and now having started the Park Studios company, I'm now having to kind of start from scratch and learn about the business aspect of things. So that's something that I'm still figuring out. I'm still getting used to the balance. It's often when I'm on the road, it's pretty much film, and the downtime when I'm back in Cape Town, I try and use that time to focus on the business side of things and make sure that I haven't forgotten about invoicing and all of that. But it's certainly a tricky thing to do, I guess, for anyone in our industry. We're creatives at the end of the day. The business side is I guess we kind of run away from business to pursue a creative endeavor, but somehow we have to still focus on those elements. I think this year it's taken off for the first time where I've actually hired people, both editors and DOPs, so that I can take maybe more of a directorial role, or just have the opportunity to have more hands on deck. And it's really paid off in the projects that have required this. So for me, that seems like the way to go. I'd say my camera bag's pretty standard, doesn't change. I'd say I'm pretty well organized in that, like, everything has its place. Microphones, SD cards, lenses, anything that comes out of the bag goes back in as soon as it needs to. So if I have to dump footage, the moment it's done, cards go back into the card wallet goes back into the bag. In terms of lenses, I used to be a gimbal guy. I started off using a gimbal primarily, and so for a long time I was using a 35 and an 85mm prime, which are like absolute go-tos. Nowadays I don't tend to use a gimbal too often, and I've opted for a 24-70 as my go-to. It's a little bit more versatile when shooting handheld, and I'm absolutely loving it. But in terms of weird gear, I'd say my filming rig is kind of a strange setup. People have given me weird looks or asked me some questions, mainly just because the giant bulky battery on the back. But what I've found is that it actually works really well to weight the camera really nicely. So I've got a top handle and a battery on the back, lens on the front, and holding it right in the middle. That extra weight helps to give me what I call cinematic shake. So I can get running shots like I used to with the gimbal, and it's shaky, but it looks insane in my opinion. So I guess my style's changed quite a bit based on the equipment that I'm using. Yeah, I think like with most of these creative things, photography, filmmaking, it's, I think, quite cliche to say, but to get into it, you have to start. And by that I mean you have to go out and find people to work with and do a lot of work without compensation before you can make a career out of it and start earning money. You have to, if you want to be a sports filmmaker, identify a sport that you're interested in, find people in that sport, either at a local club or within your community, and go and say to them, hey, would you be interested in me making a video for you? And eventually you'll develop your craft and your style. What I will say is that I think for anyone, it doesn't have to be sports filmmaking, but I think sport is a fantastic way to get into the industry, because you have to think on your feet, you have to learn to anticipate what's happening, and you often only get a few chances to nail the shot. It's not like fashion or something where you have a model and a subject and you're directing and you can redo something a number of times. In sport you have one chance, whether that's at a race or in training, often you're just a fly on the wall. There's very little directing, because even if you're filming a training session, the athlete always comes first. They do what they do, and you get what you can around that. And I found that to be a great way to learn to be a filmmaker that's less intrusive. Yeah, I guess as someone who's maybe a little bit more introverted at times, I don't want to get too involved. I want to be a fly on the wall, just capturing what's going on, and I think sport is fantastic for that. So yeah, if you have any questions, reach out. I'm on Instagram at Jacques in the Park and at Park Studios, and yeah, give me a follow or drop me a DM if you want to know any more about the industry or how to get into it. I'm always available. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I don't know how to end this. Like and subscribe. I'll see you at the races. Come say hi if you're ever around.